Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome in to Red, White, and Ruthless, a Nickel City Mafia production where our family business is football. Got my shotgun rider, Brett McDurphy, here today. And I know he got on me about wearing my Brazil jersey, but all my Bills stuff's in the wash, and I still got my Bills hat. But how you doing tonight, Brett?
Hey, that's all that counts is you're wearing a Bills hat, though. But I'm doing great, man. I'm looking forward to this weekend. It's going to be an exciting day for the Buffalo Bills to play, and I'm looking forward to another Sunday of Buffalo Bills football. That's what matters most. We were talking about it, in a previous show, and you said that we're almost a quarter of the way through football season, and man, you get so happy to be in this moment and get football back out there, and then it can get taken away from you in just 18 weeks. So I'm looking forward to this week, and let's just go out with a W and continue the momentum that we had last week. So let's keep it going.
Absolutely. Going into this game, the weather report has been pretty wishy-washy. I've heard it could be just passed over, maybe a little bit of light rain. Then I heard it could get to like 80-mile-an-hour winds because of the tropical storm, which in that case, I think they would delay. I don't think you could play an 80-mile. That game against New England was only like 50-mile-an-hour wind, and you could barely play in that. So I think if it's 80, they'll probably cancel it. But I'll throw it to you. Have you checked in on the weather report at all? Have you heard anything new? I haven't heard anything today, but this was all from the other day. So hopefully it's not as bad as it sounds, but I don't know if you heard anything.
Yeah, the latest reports that I heard is possibly up to 50-mile-an-hour winds, but you got to remember that those aren't going to be gusting winds. Those are going to be gusting winds, so you'll see the temperature and the winds go in different directions. So it might be a little crazy, but I think this is a game that it'll be a lot of fun. It's always fun playing in the rain, and if you remember a couple of years ago where I think it was the Chicago Bears had a game that was like in the rain, and they're slipping and sliding across the whole entire field. So it'll be good to see.
I think wasn't that last year, week 1?
Yeah. So
or the year before that with Trey Lance. Yeah.
It was Trey Lance and Justin Fields. So
yeah, and it was like 9-6 or something.
Yeah. So hey, we squeak away with a win that way. I'm okay with it. So we'll hear how it goes. And we have a new guest in here, and John Robert, that's coming to us on Facebook. He said, first of all, wow, it's on Facebook. And then he also said that he heard that the rain on Sunday, he meant, will stop around 11 a.m. So could be some good weather on Sunday for the Buffalo Bills. Hopefully that's the case. But
yeah,
let me see if I can get the weather report.
The field might still be a little bit wet, though it is grass. So if it does rain at all, it could still affect the field. But at least it's not going to be like torrential. If that's what it is, it holds up to 11. I don't know how the irrigation system is, but it should still, affect the field a little bit. But as far as throwing the football and catching the football, it should be fine. And then, that the ball's got to touch the ground for the center to snap it. So it'll have a little bit of water on it, but I don't think it'll be enough to affect throws and catches. And that's the only reason why I don't like weather games, is because you could be a way better team, but a perfect pass goes through a receiver's hands, pick six. You're running the ball, fumble, and then it changes the game. So
I don't want to get your footing too. So that's another thing that you have to factor in. If
you can get hurt.
Remember last year, I mean, look at the playoffs and what happened with Buffalo, where against Cincinnati, we weren't able to get our footing and receivers couldn't cut and stuff like that. That's what happens in the rain. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, definitely. As far as injury report goes, our injury report looks pretty good. Everybody's playing, I believe. And as far as the Commanders, I think Thomas is out.
That's
good old Logan Thomas. I don't know if anyone else is out, but their starting tight end is out. I watched some Commander shows a couple days ago, but it was a busy day. I didn't get to check on today if anything happened. So I don't know if that's something you could pull up and see if anyone else is out.
Yep, I have it right here. So as far as the injury reports, though, Curtis Samuel and Cam Curl both have been upgraded to no designation and will be active for the game for the Commanders. And then Logan Thomas is the only one that's going to be out. So not too many injuries for the Commanders. And then another upgrade that they're going to get for the Commanders is rookie Quan Martin, who was in the concussion protocol since week 1. He's practiced fully over the past couple days and will return for his second NFL game on Sunday. So it seems like it's going to be a pretty healthy report for both teams. And the only ones that will miss this game for the Commanders is going to be Logan Thomas, though.
Right. Yeah, so pretty healthy. Sorry, I had a sneeze coming on. Didn't want to sneeze in the camera or on the microphone. But get into this game. I know you probably did. You're gonna do your pregame show coming up tomorrow morning, probably.
That's
but
right.
When you think about this matchup, I mentioned it. And no disrespect to the Commanders, but I see this not the same as the Raiders as far as team goes, but it's the result. I mentioned in the Raiders game, I think it's going to be like 23-17, but I think it could have blowout potential. This game, I feel kind of similar without throwing disrespect towards their way because they do have a ton of talent. They do have a great, fantastic defense, one of the best fronts in the league. But how do you feel about the Bills and the Commanders, how they stack up together, and what are a couple things that you think that we can exploit on them?
Yeah, I'll start with the similarities that I see from both teams, and obviously you got to say the similarities are the relationship between Sean McDermott and Ron Rivera. That's one thing you go back to the Carolina days, especially with Ron Rivera and Sean McDermott, and then you add in Brandon Beane. All three of them were together in Carolina. And then you have Al Holcomb that was with them in Carolina as well. So 4 guys that were together. And then you look at the team, you look at the defenses of both teams, and they're very similar in terms of the investment that both teams have gotten with the amount of first-round picks that both teams have paid out to defensive linemen. And then they've started to build their offense and getting their offensive line correct. And that's one thing that Buffalo has done over the last couple of years, and then the Commanders have done as well. And then I look at the running back position, and I see some similarities there as well with you have Brian Robinson, who's more of the James Cook type of back, the featured back, and then you have Antonio Gibson, who's more of the guy that reminds me more of like Damian Harris for our offense. And then you have J.D. McKissick, who was supposed to sign with Buffalo, and I kind of hold a grudge on him because he backed out of that contract situation with Buffalo, ended up going back to the Commanders for, I guess it was a little bit more money, but the Bills, backed out of that deal. That's something that Brandon Beane is not happy about. He's probably pretty pissed off about. So that's going to be some motivation this week.
Yeah.
So we'll see how that goes. But it's going to be a game that I see the Bills exploiting some of the weaknesses on the Commanders, which is the weakness of the secondary for the Washington Commanders. And when it comes to the weakness, it's hitting the deep balls. They don't do a good job of covering deep balls. So I think that's one area that Buffalo can exploit, especially with Gabe Davis and having Stephon Diggs out there. You got to take some shots deep down the field, especially if they're not going to do a cover 2 defense or some type of style where they have a 2 deep safeties out there in coverage. But I think that Ron Rivera is going to disguise coverages very well this week. And this is a team that Jack Del Rio, really good coach in this league, and he knows how to find the weaknesses of guys like Josh Allen out there. He'll find a way to exploit his defense and make sure that he doesn't hurt their team at all. So it'll be a close game. Don't get me wrong. I think it's going to be close, but it does have the blowout potential, like you said. And then for the offense, it really comes down to, for me, the Bills have to do a good job of making Sam Howell uncomfortable in this game, because Sam Howell is the type of quarterback, when he stays in the pocket, goes through his progressions, and he's able to find where the weaknesses are in your defense, he'll make an impact out there. But I think the biggest thing that he can do is or that we can do, I'm sorry, is make him uncomfortable. So we got to do a good job of that and make it one dimensional like we did with Jimmy Garoppolo.
We'll get into that too. Don't get too. You always like to get a little bit too jump the gun a little bit. So just hold on one sec. Let's hit some of these comments quick before we move on. John mentions, who do you think will be inactive? Interesting. It'll probably be the same as it's been. However, I do like maybe the chance of, because Leonard Floyd was a little bit banged up, maybe they bring up Kingsley Jonathan and put down, I don't know who they would, somewhere else, maybe Dotson, maybe if Kingsley can play special team, maybe something like that could happen. But probably the same thing, like a Fetty, which I think he should still be active in case something happens to Spencer Brown. And then Elam, unfortunately, we're just going to leave him on the bench, and nothing out of the ordinary for me, I don't think. And then Mike says, looking good, so he's already lying. Don't sleep on the Commanders. No, definitely don't. But, I mean, when you look at the teams, this is a game that we should win. They have opportunity to win, but I still think at this point in time we're a better team, and these are one of those games where it's like my cat's clawing under the door trying to open the door. So if you hear a noise,
we don't hear it yet.
Okay, good. But
it's better than Anthony's cat that sleeps on his shoulder during
the show. Well, they want to come in here, but I leave the door shut.
Hey.
But yeah, so I mean, they're definitely got a talented team, but at the same time, the way I look at it, we're not going to get into Sam Howell right this second, but he's making his 4th career start. And if Josh Allen has to go toe-to-toe with a guy on his 4th career start and he can't win, I know we lost to Zach Wilson twice out of his 8 wins, but this is a little bit different. And, this is the kind of game we should win. It might be close, but we should be able to handle it. And then Mike says, Jim Page, he said, go Redskins. Jim, I haven't seen you before, so welcome in. Subscribe to Nickel City Mafia. Head over to Red, White, and Bills. Head over to Go Bills Podcast after this. Subscribe there, too. We appreciate you and all your input. Mike asked him, do you think you like your chances? He said, Bills should destroy. I hope so. We really could use that. Then Sarah Christine, how you doing, Sarah? Did you check out that film video yet? Let me know. He holds onto the ball all day. Yes, we're definitely going to get into that. And then John says, Josh needs to release it quick on his passes. Yeah, we could talk about that as well. And we would need to play zone against Washington. I think that's just what we do anyway, in my opinion. I mean, we might mix in a little bit of man on certain parts of the game, but I think they're going to throw a lot of screen passes, so maybe it's better to play man. And if that's the case, then they'll call Elam up and put probably Benford down. But yeah. So let's get into some more on the topic of. Oh, thanks, Sarah. I appreciate it. I didn't get to do it this week, and we didn't get to do the debate show this week, but we're hoping to do that next week as well. Dolphins week is busy for me, especially because I know like 10 Dolphins YouTubers, and I'm going to be trying to get videos in with all of them. So a lot of me and Brett's videos and the videos on my channel next week will probably be pre-recorded because I got to try to fit in times to collab with the Dolphins YouTubers. But that's for next week. So as far as something the Washington Commanders can do against us, which they do already, is a lot of screen passes with Robinson and Gibson. So some of the videos I've seen, the Commanders fans don't want Gibson to run the ball because they don't like when he carries the ball. They think he fumbles a lot. But so when he's in open space, it's a lot different. So expect, and he also had a big 73-yard touchdown against us a couple years ago. So I expect, and if I expect it, McDermott should expect it, that they're going to run a lot of screen plays. So being prepared and, on the front, defensive front, and in the secondary, in the back seven, it's very important. So how do you think it'd be good to just play man against us, for a little bit to maybe limit the screen passes, or do you think we'll stay in our typical nickel?
I think we're going to stay in our typical nickel. But one thing I'll add to what you're saying about the screen passes for the Buffalo Bills. That's one of the weaknesses that we have, is we're susceptible to the screen pass. And then when it comes to the man that's in motion, usually they throw the ball to him. And that's another area that we struggle with in the end around type of style of runs or misdirection type of things. That's one thing that Buffalo needs to correct a little bit. But it really comes down to the Bills getting penetration with guys like Leonard Floyd and Greg Russo on the outside to not allow them to get to the open field. And I think that Buffalo will do a better job of that this week, and it'll prevent the screen passes that you normally see out there. And it really comes down to, if there's screen passes, can the linebackers get to their holes, or the safeties get to their holes and get to where the running backs are trying to get to. But what we've seen lately is the amount of missed tackles for the Buffalo Bills, and that's where it's really hurt. So if Buffalo can make sure that they're not missed tackling and not allowing yards after the catch or yards after missed tackles, then that's something that Buffalo will do a better job of in getting to prevent a lot of extra yardage out there. But we've seen it over the past couple of weeks. That's what it really came down to, is the amount of missed tackles for the Buffalo Bills that pretty much hurt them all game long.
Yeah, definitely. I do like if you play man on a screen pass, which you're never gonna know what's coming, but you can knock the running back off his route when you sense the screen pass is there, and then you can't go to that play right away, and then it basically destroys it. And then Sam's either got to run around, make something happen, or he's going to throw the ball away or get sacked. So I think it's just good if you're going to stay in nickel. I think it's good just to be aware. I forgot what game it was, but I think it was week 1. One of the defensive tackles from a different team, he knew a screenplay was coming. So instead of rushing the quarterback, he just dropped back again and then was able to make a play. It could have been Pittsburgh. I don't know. But focus like that can really help against a team like Washington. Before we and just want to touch on a little something first. I mentioned it in my pregame video, so I'm going to mention it now. When I was watching the Commanders-Broncos film, and I mentioned this in all my videos too, every team that we play up until week 4 at least plays the Broncos the week before us. So I've been watching. I watch Broncos-Raiders, Broncos-Commanders. We're going to watch Broncos-Dolphins next week. So we play the Broncos eventually later in the year. So it's also like you get a good jump on learning about the Broncos. So it's kind of funny. But I didn't watch the whole film. I watched about 75% of it. Broncos were able to run the ball pretty dang well against this team. I think they got over 120 yards. However, in the second half they couldn't run as well. So it seemed like the defensive front was able to lock it down in the second half. Nonetheless, they got ran all over. And the Broncos, who didn't get any pressure at all against the Raiders, were all over the backfield. And some of that is because Howell holds on to the ball a lot, like Sarah said, and Brett mentioned it as well. Him holding on to because their offensive line's ranked within the top 15,
Right.
but they give up 11 sacks, and he's pressured constantly. So that just tells me he's holding on to the ball way too long. Because when you're blocking a 300-pound man, it's hard to hold him for more than 2 or 3 seconds. If you get
Right.
protection for more than 3 seconds, then you're in a good position. So a lot of that is him being a rookie, or not technically a rookie. He's had one start last year, but his first season as a starter for the whole from the whole time. That's something he'll have to learn going in. Later on into the season, you can't hold on to the ball that long. You're going to cause turnovers. You're going to get sacked. You're going to cause unnecessary hits on you. So I think this is a game where we could get 5+ sacks if he doesn't make that mature process quick by still holding on to the ball too much. I think that will be good for us. It'll play into our hand, especially because we've been getting to the quarterback, we've been getting pressure. But this kind of game could be like a breakout sack game for people like Greg Rousseau and maybe even Ed Oliver. But moving on, Washington ran a lot of screens and quick passes, like I already mentioned. And I put Howell gets rattled in the pocket. And when I don't mean rattled like he's scared, I mean he loses awareness the longer he's there. So he stands in there for so long, he keeps looking around. People come from behind. He doesn't notice that they're behind him. He'll get sacked from behind, or he doesn't feel the pressure to the side. Because he's like Josh Allen in the sense of he's always looking for the play downfield. And as Sarah mentioned also, she always got the facts. She comes hot with the facts that he can sling the ball. So he is very good at throwing the ball downfield. He made some incredible throws. And then she also mentioned here basically what I was she can read my mind. He doesn't seem to have much awareness of pressure coming from behind either. Some opportunities for turnovers there. Yeah, it's like she was typing that as soon as I was starting to talk about it. So she's on the ball. She must be watching the film too. So love to have that in the chat. So we appreciate you, Jessica Tennis. Thanks for tuning in, man. You know I love all the chat rolling. It's amazing.
Yeah.
But yeah, so this is what I mean. It's like you got a guy like Josh Allen, and you got a guy like Sam Howell's making his fourth start in his career. He's not gonna be as mentally ready as Josh is. So Josh will maneuver out of the pocket quicker as soon as he sees an opening. You know, if Spencer Brown gets beat and he's pushing the guy to the outside, Torrance has his guy, you got a lane. Howell might try to, make a play out of something, and we could get a lot of sacks. And then, I always think Washington cornerbacks, they're not as strong as some people may think. And linebackers and coverage are not that good. I think Dalton Kincaid and Dawson Knox can have a big day in the middle going against Barton from Seattle from last year. And I forgot the other linebacker's name. I actually like quite well. I just forgot his name. They're both pretty good in run defense, though. And Forbes is a rookie corner. He got beat a couple of times on a deep ball, but he also is a ball hawk. He led the college football in pick six in his career. So they do have some playmakers, but I will mention the last two times we played this team, we won 43-21 and 24-9. And one also little nugget I want to mention in there, their big four, their defensive line, in those two games had one sack total.
Yep.
They got a ton of pressure, but one sack with a worse offensive line. So with a stronger offensive line now, I'm very confident that we can make something happen. So that was just my film notes that I got. And, speaking of their defensive line, Josh mentioned it. They're probably one of the best, if not the best fronts in the NFL. Do you think our offensive line, from what you've seen in the first 2 weeks, do you think that we'll be able to limit them enough where Josh isn't going to feel – I'm not blaming the offensive line for week one, but people were saying Josh felt like he needed to make everything happen because of how bad the offensive line played. This is a media talking because we all remember we watched the film, we watched the breakdown, the offensive line did good enough. And only 2 sacks were credited out of the 5 to the offensive line. So how do you feel about the offensive line going against this D-line?
I'm not afraid of this defensive line, to be honest with you. And, like Jessica said here, she said that she personally doesn't think that they are any better than the Raiders. I'm not going to necessarily say that, but what I'm going to say is the Bills can do good things out here on the field by making sure that they get the ball out quick and hit the hot read, especially early. Sometimes it's going to be checkdowns. Sometimes it's going to be some plays where Buffalo is going to have to, hit the running back or hit the slot corner, or I'm sorry, not the slot corner. You don't want to do that, but you want to hit the slot wide receiver. I'm not going to say that, but the slot wide receiver, or it's just going to have to come down to Josh throwing the ball away, especially when there's guys like Chase Young and Darren Payne and Montez Sweat coming at you. Those guys are, they can make an impact on the game. So you just got to make good decisions out there. And then a good way to beat this defense is running the ball and making sure that they get tired out. And if you're able to do that, then I think that Buffalo is going to come out of this game being able to use more of the play action and take shots deep down the field. But it really comes down to if Buffalo can run the ball on this defense, then I think that we're going to have a good job of taking deep shots down the field too, because if you remember back to the first 2 weeks of the year, James Cook has not had 8 or more in the box in 97% of the snaps that he's played. So that's one thing that I look at in this game is James Cook is going to be able to run the ball in this game because you have to factor in Stephon Diggs. You have to factor in Gabe Davis. You have to factor in Dawson Knox and Dalton Kincaid. So you got to worry about all of them. And then you have James Cook in the backfield that's cooking up right now. He's starting to heat up, and that pot's starting to get pretty hot right now, and it's starting to boil. So we'll see how that works out. But it really comes down to, for me, the Bills being able to run the ball a lot this week, and then if they can do that, Josh being able to do what he did last week and hit the checkdowns and hit the short stuff, but then take the shots deep down the field. And it was a good start last week what he did. He took a lot of short passes, but I want to see him start to take more of the shots deep down the field as well. And it's just going to have to come down to making sure that you're reading your progressions fast and going through them and getting the ball out fast. So I think Josh will do a good job of that. He knows how to read defenses. He'll figure it out. And this offensive line is really, I would say, a lot better than previous years too. I don't know if you would agree with that, Shawn.
Absolutely. Of course. You've heard me talk the last couple of weeks.
Well, yeah.
I mean,
hey, you
just
for the first time in a long time, you've praised Spencer Brown, which is something I haven't heard in 3 weeks.
I can't just hate on him when he does good. You know, you gotta give him. What kind of person am I if I just purposely talk bad about someone? So I had to give him the credit then. But oh, Mike, you're gonna have to wait till tomorrow and you can backtrack and rewind it because we already talked about the weather. Sorry, no, I'm joking. John Roberts said it should be clear by 11, but who knows how that storm's gonna go? So we'll see. But yeah, I mean, as far as Spencer Brown goes, like I said, he's been nothing but horrible for 3 years, and then he had a great game last week. Yeah, he did have help, but still, he still did what he had to do. He still put the work in the week prior. You know, put a game plan together. Kingsley Jonathan helped him out a lot. You know, and mimicking Crosby's moves to a point. I mean, because it's not going to be exactly like Max Crosby. I mean, because if Kingsley Jonathan, I said it on the last show, if Kingsley Jonathan is like Max Crosby, why the hell isn't he playing? Like if he can be perfectly mirror image of Crosby, he should be on the field suited up every week. But nonetheless, he helped out a lot. And you know, I was looking at the PFF scores, and you might not like PFF, you might like it. I just use it as a tool. I always mention it. You look at the PFF scores, you watch the film, and you see does it add up here? That you know, Josh Allen was rated like a 40, and we'll say for week 1. Then you watch the tape. Oh yeah, I could see that makes sense. And then, you know, you look at all of our pass blocking grades. Everyone, I mean, Spencer Brown's still low in the pass blocking category after 2 weeks, but Dawkins is at 80. McGovern's at 77, which 80 is like elite tier. 70s and above is like very solid. Mitch Morse is close to 70s, like 68, 69. Torrance is about 70, and then Brown's about a 50. But Brown is like 79 in run blocking. Torrance has been the most consistent because the scores were basically the same every week. You know, basically 70 for both. And then Morse is, you know, up a little bit up there in the run. And then McGovern's in the 50s in the run for some reason. They don't like his run blocking. And then Dawkins is up there pretty high too in the 70s. So, I mean, just after 2 weeks, the improvement just on the eye test has been more than I could have imagined for 2 weeks. And, you know, I got so upset hearing about, oh, they give up 5 sacks. They give up 5 sacks. I knew it was only 2, and PFF credited them for 2. And the Raiders game, we gave up 2, and they were credited for 0. So, again, that's I don't know what more besides the quarterback they look into for who gets what. Maybe if there's one guy on each one and then the blitz comes, they don't count anybody for that because they all had a guy blocked. I don't know all the inner workings of PFF, but when you look at the scores, you watch the tape, you watch the game, this offensive line after 2 weeks has been what we were hoping it would be. And if we could stay like this on this trajectory, and we got a lot of good tests coming up. You got the Washington front. You got the Jaguars and the Dolphins coming up. You got Josh Allen on the other side, you know, for the Jacksonville Jaguars coming up. So we got a lot of good tests coming. So as far as the offensive line goes, I know they got a ferocious front. I know they're going to get pressure no matter what. Yeah. But I think we're gonna surprise a lot of people and, you know, frustrate their defensive line. Yeah. Sarah mentions we didn't really have to play the deep ball last week, which allowed us to bring more guys down and commit to stopping the run. Howell can throw it downfield. If you let the wide receivers get in front, absolutely, perfectly said. And what I like as far as offense for us goes, I like the fact that we didn't focus on throwing it deep. I know you were talking about defense, but I'm going to talk about the offense first. We were able to win by being patient, taking what's underneath, taking what's given to you, and having long methodical drives and surgically getting touchdowns. Eventually, if we keep doing that, defense is going to be like, okay, he's not going to go for the intercept. He's not going to just try to fling it anymore and put the ball in harm's way. So now we got to move up people in the box. And then we'll be able to go deep again. We'll be able to hit the farther middle routes. And then it's going to be finding more than one way to win. We're able to run the ball because the offensive line's better. James Cook had 120 yards, 30 of it was against the backups. I was, got to throw that in there, but he did phenomenal. Murray, everybody's good. Everybody's been good at running the football for the most part. So if we can continue doing this, nothing but positives.
Yeah. I want to go with a comment real quick on YouTube, and I really like this comment that Sarah mentioned. What's up with all the ridiculous good defensive lines that we have to face on the schedule? I mean,
it's not even the worst of it yet
this year, but hey, this is a good thing for Buffalo because it's going to test the offensive line. This defensive line of the Commanders, they're the best in the NFL right now in terms of getting to the quarterback. They had 7 sacks last week. Their pressure rate was incredible, and they're getting the job done. So it really comes down to, can the offensive line of the Buffalo Bills step up? And I think that they will. You got Deion Dawkins, who's looked a lot better this year. You have Osiris Torrance, who's done a really good job of only allowing 1 pressure over 2 games. And then Spencer Brown's looking a lot better too. So, and Mitch Morse is no schlep of his own. He's a good player out there on the field. And you have Connor McGovern as well, that I think he's only going to get better as he learns this offense. So it really comes down to, can Buffalo protect Josh Allen? And I think they will in this game. So I'm not scared whatsoever. But I want to get to some of the other comments real quick on YouTube as well. And I want to get to Jessica's comment about the weather. She said that she lives in Raleigh and the rain ended there, and the center of the storm should be over Richmond. She thinks it will be north of DC by 8 a.m. tomorrow, and it should not be an issue, just her opinion. So I do appreciate you, Jessica, for letting us know about that. And hopefully by 11 o'clock, like John said on here, I hope that's going to be the case, and I hope it's beautiful weather for the Buffalo Bills. Yeah. But one thing that we do have to worry about is this field and FedEx Field is not one of the better fields in the NFL. You look back to a couple of years ago and you saw Alex Smith get hurt on this field. Joe Theismann's gotten hurt on this field. A lot of players have gotten injured on this field, not including those 2 that I can name, but there's other players that get injured on this field, and it's something that worries me, especially with a rainy game, and there could be injuries. It seems like every time that a team goes to FedEx Field, there's an injury, and it's a major injury that happens there. So
I think people blame the fields too much.
Like, it's not that.
It's football. People get hurt, and like you could play on pillows, and then you could get hurt. I mean, I get what you're saying, but like all the debates about like, oh, everybody should have grass, everybody should have turf. I play high school football where everybody had grass fields, and people were getting hurt left and right constantly, rolling ankles, tearing ACLs. It's just going to happen no matter what. So hopefully nobody gets hurt, but we've been pretty lucky, at FedEx Field. I don't think we've had any major injuries, knocking on the wood. But, I mean, definitely get your point, especially if it's muddy. It's going to be slippery and, harder for the corners, though. So that's a thing that on offense, because that's the hard part about being a DB. You don't know what the wide receiver is going to do, but the wide receiver knows what he's going to do. So it's a little bit better. But Mike's comment and Sarah's comment kind of go hand in hand. Mike's playing the conservative Bills fan right now, being worried about the Commanders because we lost to the Jags in 21. And Sarah mentioned what I mentioned earlier, that same defensive front only got 1 sack in 2 games against us because they've been around since 18. We played them in 19 and then 21, and then they still have Cam Curl, Fuller as returning defensive backs, and Josh had like one of his best games of his career in 2021. They get 400 yards, Brett, 4 touchdowns, no interceptions, no fumbles, and I'm assuming he won Offensive Player of the Week, that AFC Player of the Week that week. But I mean, I'm not saying they're not a great team. I'm not saying that we're going to steamroll them because, like I said, it could go either way. we could blow them out. They could beat us in the end. It could be a 13 to 14 type game, especially if it's raining and torrential downpour. Then you got to play the run game, which I'm also not worried about much anymore. But one thing I do want to mention, Diggs is going home. He's from Maryland area. He went to Maryland.
Right.
So this is the kind of game where he wants to show out more than that.
Yeah.
I mean, not that he doesn't always want to show out, but when you're home, you got your old family, your friends coming to watch, your old coaches maybe. You just want to ball out. And, I don't think any DB in the secondary can cover Diggs. So I expect him to have like a big, 10 catch for 150 and maybe 2 touchdown type of day, depending on the weather, because if it's super terrible, I don't want to risk always throwing the ball because, like I said, easy catches turned into tipped interceptions for pick six or just something that shouldn't have been a pick in the beginning. So, weather permitting, do you think this is a type of day where Diggs can, really, really blow up, or do you think we might focus on the middle of the field more and get guys like Kincaid and Knox involved and maybe Gabe Davis?
I think it's going to come down to, what Josh sees out there. And if Josh sees that that Stephon Diggs is wide open, you got to hit those shots. You got to, if it's one-on-one, you got to throw it to Diggs. I mean, 17 plus 14 it equals 6, and that's what it's going to come down to. So you got to give the ball to your playmakers, and the playmakers that I like the most is Stephon Diggs. So give the ball to him, get it to him as often as possible, and let him make an impact out there, because I think he'll go for more than the 150 yards that you said. I think it's going to come down to 200 yards. Honestly, I think he could easily do it in this game. So I don't think there's anybody that can cover him. I do want to get to Jessica's point here. She corrected me on something that I honestly thought it was at FedEx Field, but she said that Theismann never played at FedEx Field. It was RFK. And I can't believe the knowledge that Jessica has. I mean, this is incredible knowledge.
You got to be careful because they'll be right there to pick it up if you make a mistake. So that's what we love.
My seat might be on the line coming up, because you might have to have Jessica come on or Sarah come on, because they're doing a better job in the comments than I am talking out here. So,
speaking of which, going to the debate show, it was supposed to be Brett and Chris this past week, but nobody could make it besides Brett. Sarah, Jessica, you guys got freaking bookloads of knowledge.
Yeah.
Maybe come on, message me or Mike or Brett, whoever. I need 2 people for a debate show every week. Brett's the next one up, and if you guys want to go head to head, 10 questions,
or
it's a fun ass time, and
listen,
it'll be
if Sarah and Jessica want to go head to head,
or that,
I mean, I'm okay with that 100%. I want to see a show with the 2 of them on here, because I think that they'll do a phenomenal job. I really do. I love the comments that are coming in. She's, between Mike and Sarah and Jessica, all 3 of them, along with John Robert too. John, shoot me a message on Facebook too. If you want to come on a debate show, or you want to go on the Go Bills podcast, you're all more than welcome to do that. So just send us a message. We would greatly appreciate it as well.
Oh yeah, show for the fans. But let me just say, I lost my train of thought. But going back to what Mike was saying about or Sarah said it. The Bills can't. We can let our guard down because we're fans, but Bills can't let their guard down for a minute. Maybe just another game to them. But every team we play marks it down and treats it as a measuring stick. Absolutely, Mike mentions great point. This measuring stick for the Commanders are the. Excuse me, geez, are they the team they think they are? They played the Cardinals. They squeaked out a win there, and then they had a good comeback, amazing comeback victory against the Broncos. However, the Broncos are 0-2, and the Cardinals are 0-2. So
right.
I mean, they're right. They haven't been 2-0 since I think 2011 or 2005, maybe.
2005, yeah.
2005. So they're definitely riding high. They got rid of that bum owner Snyder, whoever it was before, and just as a whole. I mean, I was stationed in the DMV area for 6 years. I love the DMV area, and they're all excited and happy about. Used to be the District of Champions, baby, when my Nats won the World Series. It was just a great time. But Commanders football is getting back hot over there, so definitely going to be interesting. And again, I don't think we're going to be. I'm not going to call blowouts this year. I think it'll be a close game, but this could be one of those games where the Bills really break out. And speaking of Bills, where's Trent Sherfield? Is he going to step up this week, or is he going to be involved in the game plan, or is he just going to be that guy that maybe comes around later in the season?
No, he's been involved in the game plan. I'll say this though about Trent Sherfield. What you don't see from him is he does the dirty stuff that you don't see, and it doesn't get the recognition on the stat board. He's the type of guy that comes out there and he blocks in the run game. He does stuff to take pressure off of the offensive line, and I like what he's done so far. I mean, he hasn't gotten involved in the offense necessarily, but I like what I've seen from him, especially as a guy that comes in and blocks and does a good job of blocking as well. And then in the special teams, what he's done as well as a gunner, he does a good job of that as well. So it really comes down to if Buffalo wants to get him more involved in the offense, but he's playing that Jake Kumaro type of role that we saw last year, and he's doing a much better job than I think Jake did over the last couple of years. And it really comes down to his blocking, and I think his blocking has been phenomenal to start the year. And then we'll get him involved in the passing game, but I think we brought him in to be a run blocker rather than a receiver. So that's why, I would say to you, don't think that he is just going to be the type of guy that comes on and doesn't do anything. He's not that type of guy. If you look at the film from last week, he did a great job in the run game. So you got to look at the film again, see what he does, and rethink what you're saying about him, because I'll tell you this much: there's a lot of plays that he's out there and he's doing a good job of blocking in.
Yeah, but still, I'd like to, get him involved in the pass game a little bit too, because
I agree.
He's got consistent hands, something McKenzie didn't have. Same thing with Hardy. We paid him a bunch of money, and they keep trying these screen passes that aren't working. I'd like to see us use his speed better. And Mike says, does Sherfield really need to show up? He's a great blocker, and his splits on offense and defense have been close, so no tell for the defense. Yeah, I mean, like I mentioned, other people got to step up. The Cincinnati game last year, no one else stepped up. This, you got to know who you got and what they can do. And if he's just a, good blocker, yeah, that's good. But now we're lacking. Now we're going back to you're keeping people on offense who aren't good at everything on offense. Like we kept Jake Kumaro because he played special teams, but he was horrible at receiver. I need people that are gonna capitalize on chances, that Josh can trust them on a third down or something. It can't just be Diggs and Davis all the time, and Davis is up and down. And then if Diggs gets bracketed, who's going to step up? And I know Kincaid's kind of that guy too, but like John mentioned, Trent can catch the ball great too. That's why I want to see him show up a little bit more and make some plays, because I think he can be a good playmaker for this team. Not going to be like a 70 catch, 1,000-yard receiver, but maybe like 30 catches, 45 catches, and like 500 yards. Like that would be solid for a guy like Sherfield, who's like a third or fourth receiver technically. And
right.
But yeah, I mean, blocking is very important, and
Right.
I love the aspect of his game that he can block, because a lot of receivers don't like to block.
Right.
But yeah, Jessica says red, white, and Bills. You want to take Diggs or Davis off the field when playing 21? No, I'm not saying like give them all a bunch of opportunity. I'm just saying once in a while you got to sprinkle them in a little bit. I mean, once in a while Diggs and Davis need a break. As much as they want to play every snap, you want to get them fresh for like maybe a third down opportunity. Like take Diggs off on second down, then on third down get him back in the game, get him a quick breath. Like everybody has things they can contribute. I mean, I would take Davis off once in a while if he's struggling, because he hasn't shown to be consistent constantly. So if it's one of those games where he's not on that kind of day, like the Jets game where he only had 2 catches, maybe throw Sherfield in there for a play or two, see if he does something.
No, I'm in disagreement with you on this one, because what Gabe Davis does for the offense is really good things, because he takes some pressure off of Stephon Diggs. and sometimes he doesn't have the best games. I'm going to say that right now. Sometimes he's not the best player, but what he is a reliable threat that's out there on the field 99 to 100% of the time. And he goes out there, he does his job. He's, the type of guy that, his energy level is great. His, stamina is great. You don't want to take a guy like him off the field. He can make big plays out there. He can do really good things out there on the field. So I wouldn't take Gabe Davis off the field. I wouldn't take Stephon Diggs off the field. But I think that there's ways that Buffalo can mix guys into the playbook by moving guys like Dalton Kincaid and Dawson Knox off of the field. And that's what it's going to come down to. And even moving Deontay Hardy off the field as well. But like I think it was Mike that said it, that there's so many mouths that we have to feed on this offense right now that it's going to be
talking to himself too. He put yes, Mike.
No, that was me. I'm the one.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
I'm commenting as Nickel City Mafia because he's not talking to himself. Yeah. Don't get me wrong.
I mean, I get what you guys are saying, but regardless, they're going to come off the field at some point. Diggs will be off the field. Davis will be off the field. So when you got guys like Sherfield and Hardy both in,
Davis doesn't come off the field. That's the thing is he's out there for 99% of the snaps. So he doesn't come off the field.
99 is not 100. So that's what I'm saying. Like they're going to be off the field at some point.
That one play that he does, I mean, it's usually because he, there's some type of issue with him, that there's an injury or something like that. And like Jessica said, he's a great blocker and he doesn't.
No, I'm not campaigning to not get him reps. I'm just saying you bring Sherfield in, you pay him a decent amount of money, and you're going to give him 5 plays a game. Like, let him play some. There's going to be packages or situations where Diggs always calls people off for him. It's like, I don't want to play right now. I'm tired. Someone comes in for him, he takes a breath. Like when I play football, I had a small team, so I couldn't take a break. I had to beg for a break, and I took one play off. I scored a big touchdown, and I played. They call us Iron Men because we had 19 kids in the team, so we played offense and defense and special teams.
Right.
So I asked the head coach, "Hey, can I take kickoff off so I can rest to go play linebacker?" He said no. So I go to the special teams coach and say, "Hey, can you give me a break?" He said, "Sure." Puts the guy in. That next play, the guy returns it to like the 5-yard line and almost scores a touchdown. And the coach is like, "Oh, where the heck was Shawn at?" But the point is, people get tired. Yeah. And Jessica mentioned Sherfield's an insurance policy. Exactly. But, he's out there blocking well. So if people are going to expect him to go out and block well, whether it's a run or a pass play, maybe he can get open and make a nice play downfield. He made some plays for the Dolphins. I mean, he had 35 catches behind Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. And he wasn't even the third. He earned up to be the third receiver. And Tua's not a great quarterback. I mean, whether people want to say he is or not, he doesn't hold a candle to Josh. So maybe Josh can get him involved more. There's times where you could take Hardy off the field and put Sherfield in a spot. It doesn't have to just be take Davis or Diggs off the field. And there's always times where Knox might not be on the field. Kincaid might take a break. Knox might take a break. Hardy might take a break. There's situations where you can use these players. So I'm not saying he has to come up and get 10 catches in a game, but he hasn't even got 1 catch. Like, why bring him in if you didn't want to use him in that kind of facet too? Again, blocking is very important. Davis and Sherfield are good blockers, but I just expected to see more than 0 catches after 2 weeks. That's all. And, I don't think he's going to be more than like a 30 catch guy, but that's all he needs to be. And I'm just saying maybe give him maybe see what he can do with the football in his hand. That's all.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is going to be a game this week that you can see what he does for an offense. And I think what you're trying to expect from him is more of the Robert Foster type of player where he comes in and he has like 600 yards. And I get where you're getting at on that, but I just don't think that the game plans over the last couple of weeks could have involved him in the game. But I think that this week, especially against a team that we can go vertical on, we can use him quite a bit, but we haven't been able to go vertical over the last couple of games because you go up against the Jets, and the Jets do a really good job of preventing plays over 20 yards on their defense. And then you go up against the Raiders, who you can't really do that either. You have to take the dink and dunk type of plays. But now you're going up against the Commanders, and the Commanders the biggest weakness in their defense is you can throw the ball deep. So I would love to see some 12 personnel in this game, but I'd also like to see 4 wide, or 2 wides on each side, and then go deep on some plays and let guys like Sherfield go deep and see if we can get a connection there. And then let Deontay Hardy go deep. That's the type of things that I want to see this week. But I want to see it with Gabe Davis, and I want to see it with Stephon Diggs out there on the field, because what they do for the offense is way more than what Deontay Hardy and even Trent Sherfield do. And even Khalil Shakir, he came in, made an impact in the game, and got that touchdown to take the game into halftime. They've all done a really good job. I'd like to see more of them getting involved, but it has to come down to them earning the right to get the playing time. But I don't see it happening with, Gabe Davis or Stephon Diggs being taken off the field, because they're 1A and 1B out there. I mean, I'm going to say this right now. In another offense, I will say this: Gabe Davis is a number 1 wide receiver. I'm going to tell you that right.
Oh no!
Right
Hold
now.
on.
I'm going to say that right now.
I'm at 12 personnel. Yeah, I figured that's what you meant, and I was just, I was like, yeah, 12 personnel, 21.
Let me say this though.
Hold on, you lose your privilege to talk for a minute, because
I want to
wide receiver 1 on any other team.
I want to ask you a question.
Who's better, Jalen Waddle or Gabe Davis?
Jalen Waddle, but I'm going to say
T. Higgins or Gabe Davis?
T. Higgins, but
okay, that's
tell me on the New England Patriots. Tell me all the receivers that Gabe Davis is better than. There's worse than.
That's different. They have no receiver.
Exactly. So you're telling me that
he's not a 1.
Davis couldn't be the number 1 there?
Well, technically, but he's not a number 1 receiver. He would be by default, but he's not talented like a wide receiver 1. I'm going to say,
I just made my point.
I would throw to Sherfield in the short game more than Davis. Davis is only a deep threat. He's not that good in the short game. We've seen it over the years and in college, and we don't use him like that. So that's what I mean. Like, you're not going to go deep every single play. And Diggs is fantastic at every single route and every single stem, everything. You could get Sherfield out there. You could even, since Davis is such a phenomenal blocker, you could throw a little wide receiver screen to Sherfield, maybe see what he does, or do it to Hardy. You could get more. I just feel like the more people you get involved, the harder it is to figure out what we're going to do and what kind of offense we are. If you just always go to Davis and Diggs and maybe Kincaid once sprinkled in here, it's just going to be obvious near the end of the latter part of the season. And that's what happened to us last year. It was just obvious. Davis couldn't step up. McKenzie sucked. And then, that was really it. So then you double team Diggs, you bracket Diggs, and then you're screwed. That's why I want to get more, I know, because if you hide them a little bit, people are never going to know. But the more people you get involved, it just throws everybody for a loop. And it's like, well, shit, now they got Kincaid, Knox, Davis, Diggs, and Sherfield out here. What the hell are they going to run the ball? Are they going to go deep? Are they going to do all these crazy fucking routes here? Like, what's going to happen? Yeah. So I just think
I get where you're coming from. I do get where you're coming from on that. It would be nice to see them, be more creative. I agree 100%. But I just think with this offense, we have the ability to be creative, but we don't have the different styles to play. We run the 12 personnel. That's like the one style that we run right now. So being able to change that and everything, it's harder to go from 12 personnel to now we're going to go split 2 wides on each side, or we're going to run 5 wide receiver sets and stuff like that. It's harder to do because we rely on the tight ends to be used in this offense so much. So you're going to have 2 tight ends out there. You're going to have Gabe Davis. You're going to have Stephon Diggs. It really comes down to, do you take James Cook off the field, or do you take, do you have Trent Sherfield out there? And when we do that, I want to see more of the wide receiver sets where you have 4 wide out, because if we are able to do that, then we'll hit big plays.
No, but absolutely. You're 100% right.
It's hard to take with the amount of mouths that we're feeding right now. I mean, it's like playing Hungry Hippo. You're trying to feed every single person and have them go for 1,000 yards. I'm not saying that you're trying to do that. Don't get me wrong. I'm just saying you're trying to feed the ball to this person and that person. Eventually, there's going to be too many mouths to feed, and that's going to be hard.
That's a good thing, though. Someone's bound to get open. And
Yeah.
John mentioned, how would you get Sherfield out there with Diggs, Davis, and Kincaid? You don't always have to run 12 personnel. There's 11 personnel. There's a bunch of different sets that you could do where it doesn't require two tight ends. There's also routes where, there's only two. There's max protection where you only send two receiver routes out there. So it's just like you could do it. And if all we run is 12 personnel, people are going to scheme up against 12 personnel by the end of the season come playoff time. So do it now while it's season's young, and you can keep implement. Yeah, you can run 12 personnel all you want. That's fine. But what are you going to, like I mentioned this before the season started, what do you do if Kincaid gets hurt or Knox gets hurt? You're going to run 12 personnel with Morris the same way? No. So you need to have other things in your arsenal that you can go to and be confident in. If you just run 12 personnel 90% of the time, and then one of them goes, like, what if Knox was out this week? He had a back injury. What if he wasn't playing? Then what do you do? Oh, shit, now we got to implement a whole brand new plan this week. We run 12 personnel so much. So I just love, Mike loves the hungry hippo analogy. Brad always has good analogies. That's why he's my co-host, or we're co-hosting together. But it's just is what Sarah mentioned, get creative more, because that's what we don't do. Because Dorsey was firing on all cylinders in the beginning of the year. Then all of a sudden everybody figured it out because we didn't have the personnel. Now all we heard in the offseason was how great of a signing Sherfield was, how great of a signing Hardy was. I thought we overpaid for Hardy, but I'd like to see him involved more. He's got speed. Like he's got Tyreek Hill speed. Why not do something with him? I mean, don't throw him the ball in triple coverage like you did against the Jets, but get him involved more. And I know we're beating a dead horse here, but I just think get more creative, get more people to football, and good things will happen. But let's get back to more keys to the game. Unless you want to say something else, because I
wanted to say that the way to do that is, I think the 12 personnel works when you're trying to run more of the runs with James Cook, and we can work that into, okay, we have the 12 personnel out there, and then we're going to split Kincaid out wide, and we can now run the wide receiver sets type. You have four guys out wide, and I would like to see more play action. And with Josh under center this week, that's one thing I'd really like to see, is him go under center, take some play action passes, hit receivers, hit Knox, and if Knox is hurt, then bring up Sherfield, bring up Hardy, even Shakir. I really liked what Shakir's doing, and he's worked in the offseason with Eric Moulds. So I think he's going to get a lot better, and he's a forgotten guy on this team too. So I want to see that next guy come up and really hit things rolling and get the offense going, because you're right. We need to see what this team can do, because we saw what happened in the playoffs. We're trying to hit one guy each time in the last couple of playoff games, and we need to see the next guy step up. So I agree with you on that sense, but I just don't think that the numbers are going to be high enough where we can factor in 500 yards to this receiver, that receiver, and every receiver on the roster. Otherwise, what happens is next year we're not going to be able to pay everybody, and we'll lose some good receivers out there too.
No, we're probably going to lose someone anyway, but that's just the name of that's why you want to see what you got in people. Because if Gabe Davis is gone because he wants $25 million a year, then
he won't.
I mean, he's gonna, if he does what everyone thinks he can this year, he's gonna want a big amount of, he's gonna want at least 20 mil, and then no team has two $20 million receivers, and we got Diggs at like 28. So we got to see who you got, in the back end. But man, you always get me forget what I'm gonna say because you talk about Davis.
Well, I'll let you get your train of thought in a second, okay? But I'm going to say this. This is one area that's going to worry me the most, okay? Is that when the offseason comes around, okay, and we lose Gabe Davis, the one place I don't want to see him go, and I mentioned it earlier, is I don't want him to go to the Patriots. That would scare me the most, because I think that Bill Belichick will find a way to utilize him in his offense, and he'll burn the Bills every single time that he goes against them. So
Well, he would never pay $20 million for a receiver anyway, so
Yeah.
that's why they stick with guys like Juju and friggin' whoever Taekwon. They let Jacoby Myers go and they signed Juju for the same contract. They don't want to put all that money into receivers. I mean, they got that rookie Kayshawn Butte or Booty, whatever you want to pronounce it. Taekwon Thornton's hurt. I mean, they just
Devontae
there's
Parker, though, they paid
Devontae
him.
Parker. I mean, he's just old. He's just not. He's a good possession receiver, but that's really about it. But Patriots will not pay much. Yep,
Yeah,
John got it
I
right.
agree that they won't. But I mean, if he goes for 15 million, okay.
I mean, if it goes 50 million, you could probably sign him here, but I guess it really depends on like is he going to pull Harrison Phillips and like everyone assumes he's going to take a hometown discount because you thought he
Yeah.
loved Buffalo, and then all of a sudden he's like, yeah, I'm gonna go play for the Vikings, and you're like, oh, I figured that you'd be a guy to stay here, but okay, that's fine. So it all depends on what they want in their career. If he thinks like, oh yeah, I want to see like if we don't win a Super Bowl, and next year, he's like, oh, I want to come back and see it through, then we'll see, but. Jessica says, question, trade White next year and keep Davis or let Davis go someplace out, trade White. I mean, it's always hard to choose when you put emotion into it. Like, I love Trey White. I love Gabe Davis. But I'm always on the younger train. You drafted Elam for a reason. You got Benford. You love Benford. So Trey White's the type of guy that you could probably live without. I mean, we did live without him. I mean, we went that whole playoff push up until, what was it? It was a 13-second game that we didn't have Trey White, and we probably could have won that game without him. So, and yeah, I mean, it's hard because in his career, Trey White's been better than Davis, but I think we're still young at corner besides Trey White, and he's not even that old. But
Right.
I think it makes more sense money-wise. That's a great question, really tough. Yeah, I mean, I guess I would just say you drafted Elam. Hopefully we don't get rid of Elam. You drafted Elam for a reason. You got a young guy in Christian Benford. You might even bring Dane Jackson back on a cheap. And then, maybe draft a corner. Because, I mean, there's going to be drafting too again. Like, we're going to get younger at safety maybe. Yeah. Maybe Taylor Rapp's the answer. Maybe he's not. He's only on a one-year deal. Maybe DeMar Hamlin's the answer. Maybe he's not. So, yeah, it's an interesting question. But, yeah. You gotta make tough decisions in this kind of game, and luckily Brandon Beane has to make them and not me.
Yeah, that's right. And I think so. Tre'Davious White's contract ends after the 2024 season, so I think that an extension is probably going to be the way that Buffalo reworks his contract, and then you got to add in.
I think they already did that with his though, like restructured. I think they already restructured his.
They restructured it, but I'm saying add an extension onto the back end so that you can rework the deal because it's a 4-year, $69 million contract that he's on right now. He's got to factor in. So this is year 3 of the contract that he's going into, and I'd add a couple more years onto the back end of that contract. I wouldn't pay him, the amount that we're paying him right now. Maybe if we can work it into like 10 million a year, somewhere in that range, especially because he's, this is the time to do it, but then you can restructure it, get it into backloaded years and make it so that Buffalo can save some money later on. But you can pay him, with a, I can't even think of what it's called though, but you can pay him the money up front with a signing bonus and have them do it that way. But I think it really comes down to Buffalo reworking the contracts of Deion Dawkins and even Tre'Davious White. But
that's like, how far can you kick the can down the road until it fucks us in the end? So that's what I'm always worried about with, like, people say Beane's a genius, but it's like, hey, he could get fired in like a year or two, and then we're screwed for the next like decade. So yeah, it's nice that like we're able to move all this money around, but it's gonna come back. It's gonna come a time where you gotta answer to all that. But Sarah mentioned Dawkins might be on his way out. I hope not. I hope he plays this year how he's been playing the whole season, and then we're locked at left tackle. And then Morse is probably going to be gone, so you got to get a new either Bates or draft a new center. And then if Brown could be hopefully what he was last week all season, then we're fine. But then at the same time, I still want another competition at right tackle. So I want to keep as much continuity as possible. Like if we can keep Dawkins, McGovern, Torrance, and then maybe next year a new center and a new right tackle, and then stay like that for a while. But no, I mean Dawkins. Are you talking about Dawkins or Davis? Because I know Brett mentioned 15 mil for Davis, but yeah, I do trust Bean too. It's just this is kind of what Greer does for the Dolphins. He kicks the can down the road, kicks the can down the road, kicks the can down the road. Now he's in a horrible position where he can't sign. He's got to sign Waddle. He's got to try to keep Tyreek Hill. He's got to sign Tua. He's got to sign Jalen Phillips. He's got to sign who's that? Javon Holland. He's got to
Right.
sign. He just signed Bradley Chubb to a big deal. He got to sign Christian Wilkins, and he can't. He can't do all that. He can only do a couple of those things because he kept kicking the can down the road previously, and now he's kind of screwed. But yeah, I think he's 12 or 13. But yeah, it's a lot. But the tackle market now is even worse. So
Yeah.
it's like if he can play what he is right now in the first 2 weeks for the whole season, that would be a steal. But if he regresses and doesn't play too well, then it's like, damn, yeah, now we got to start thinking. But I think I trust that he can have a better year this year now that McGovern's next to him, because McGovern is a million light years better than Saffold. Jessica says it tells you a lot that the Bills choose to extend Teron and Bates versus other players. Yeah, I mean, definitely interesting. Definitely interesting for sure. I mean, I like Bates at center too, but I would have loved. We mentioned it in the pre-draft process. I don't know if you guys were here in our pre-draft process, but we loved a guy like Tippmann and Whippler, who was available in the 4th round that we could have got, but we traded up to get Kincaid, which we probably could have got him anyway. And yeah, so it would have been nice to keep a stash a guy like that, like the Jets are doing. They're stashing Tippmann, and he's basically redshirted this year, and he's going to learn a lot. Then we could have played him next year, and then maybe get a new right tackle. But we're getting a ton off topic, and I apologize. Let's get back into some of the keys to the game. When I look at what the Bills need to do, we already touched on it a lot. Limit the defensive line output. Continue to be patient. Take care of the football, especially if it's bad weather. Run efficiently and effectively when you do. Now, spread the ball around like we always talk about. Brett, is there anything I missed or anything you wanted to add on or touch on?
Yeah, I'm going to add a couple of things. Limiting the amount of penalties, that's one thing I really want to focus on this week. I felt like we did a really good job last week of limiting the amount of penalties. And it really just comes down to Buffalo playing within themselves this week. And that's one thing that I really want to see them do is play within themselves. And then another thing is I want to see Josh, like we said earlier, I want to see him take what the defense gives him, because I felt like last week, and maybe this is just me being a little greedy, but I felt like he was taking too many of the short balls and he wasn't seeing what was open deep down the field. So I want to see Josh really go through his progressions this week and find the open receiver. And if it's deep down the field, take that deep ball. I want to see him take shots down the field. I don't want him to get rid of that, because it's something that makes Josh who he is. So don't be afraid to make mistakes. Take that shot deep down the field. If you get an interception, okay, that's fine. You're not leading the league in interceptions anymore. That's fine. Take shots down the field, though. I want to see it. This is the game where Buffalo should be pressing the ball down the field.
Yeah, I mean, I agree for sure, but also at the same time, if it's not there, don't do it. Like,
Yeah,
if it's in double coverage, don't just throw the football. I mean,
right.
I want him to keep doing what he's doing, but then eventually it'll open up, or maybe throw it. I mean, I didn't see any double moves recently, so maybe keep throwing underneath routes and then throwing a double move like you mentioned for week 1. We could have used a double move, with Diggs like we did in the first time we played the Jets, and then you throw him for a loop, and then you could throw it deep without an issue, because if you overthrow it, it's just overthrown. And then, but yeah, 100%. I love that part of Josh's game, but I think at least for now, maybe past the Dolphins week, they're going to keep trying to bore Josh into throwing bad interceptions. So if he just keeps frustrating them and taking underneath routes and still scoring touchdowns, then they're going to have to be like, oh, you know what? Now we got to start playing up because this is pissing us off. and then you could even beat them more deep, and then you could run the ball, you could throw it deep, you could throw it short, you could throw it in the middle, and then know who's going to stop you. So I think they're going to keep testing them, like try to force them into throwing turnovers. But yeah, Sarah mentions if Vandermark plays well, it's a spot you try to cut to possibly pay someone else. Yeah, I mean, hopefully we're not in that situation. We're not like quite like the Dolphins in that aspect yet. But yeah, I think Mike said that was you. I always think it's Mike. The Dawkins would take a discount. Yeah, I think if he had to, he would. Yeah, 14.5 mil a year. Don't need to answer or acknowledge it, just so you know. Yeah, I mean, I thought it was between 12 and 15, so thank you for it's basically 15. Yeah. So I mean, it's good tackle money. Look up Brett or whoever, look up Trent Williams and who's the other good left tackle in the league? Laramie Tunsil. Look up Laramie Tunsil's AAV and Trent Williams. Those are the two best, in my opinion, left tackles that are on a contract.
So right now, Trent Williams is on a 6-year, $138 million. So that's right around what, 23 million a year. So that's pretty high. And then Laramie Tunsil.
Mm-hmm.
Tunsil is at 22 a year at 3-year, $66 million.
Yeah, so no, not Sarah. Not if Teron Armstead could stay healthy, I think he would be. But Laramie Tunsil and for me, for my opinion, Laramie Tunsil and Trent Williams are the two best, and they get in the 20s. So I mean, yeah, 15 million is a lot, but that's 8 million less than the best. So I think it's like when you look at the Ed Oliver contract. Left, especially left tackle, quarterback, defensive end are like and wide receiver like the top money. What was I just saying
about offensive tackles?
No, before that.
Oh, I totally lost you.
Ed Oliver's contract.
So yeah, my bad.
So, people bring up Ed Oliver's contract all the time, and they say it's 19 million a year, and I always say it's not because I only go off guaranteed money. So Ed Oliver's guaranteed $45 million, and it was a extension off a 4-year extension off of this year. So it starts next year. So that's 5 years. So Ed Oliver is technically getting $9 million a year, unless he outperforms his contract and he'll get to $68 million. But he's only guaranteed $45 million. So when you look at Spot Track or whatever, it's going to tell you he's averaging $19 million a year, but he's not guaranteed that. He's only guaranteed $45 million over 5 years. Right. But Ed Oliver is like top 12 or 15 in defensive tackle money, and he makes $9 million a year technically, and then Quentin Williams makes like 25. So It's like it doesn't seem like it's a huge jump for tackle, but they make the real good ones. They make a big shit ton of money. So yeah, I think Oliver's contract was great, and like I said, people look at the total contract, like the $68 million for 4 years, and which it's kind of true, but we don't have to pay him that. He's only guaranteed 45. So if he comes out and getting sacks, tackle for loss, he's doing great, in run stuffing, he's working a lot of scrimmage, he's just doing everything, looking in the backfield and ready for plays. He might make the 68 million and then his averages goes up, but he's only guaranteed 45. So I know it's not like how people actually look at it, but that's just how I look at it. He's only guaranteed because that's what quarterbacks want. They want the guaranteed money. Like Watson got 230 million guaranteed. Burrow got 400 million, but 219 guaranteed. So they look at that, and then they use the average. Like, oh, he's averaging this, but guaranteed money is what the players want. So yeah, offensive tackles, they make a shit ton of money, and that's why I'm happy with Dawkins' contract if he could play like he has been in his first 2 weeks. Yeah, Oliver is guaranteed this year, and they do that because if they aren't happy with what he's doing, they can move off of it, and they're not paying him that 68 million. They move off of it and they cut their loss, and that's why they do kind of contracts like that. But Brett, I got some Bills that need to step up. I want you to tell me if you agree, or also say your players as well.
Okay,
And if
so
you watch my pregame show, so you'll know mine. But
yep,
I'll just run them through quick. The O-line, I just want them to
yep,
continue to build off of great performances. Spencer Brown, you got props last week. Continue that. Don't just be, oh yeah, I was fine last week. I'm good to go now. Don't get complacent.
yep,
Everyone else continue to be on the upward trajectory. You guys have been awesome the first 2 weeks and only allowed two credited sacks to you. You've been able, yeah, sir. I mean, you gotta type it a little bit faster, but
got to be quicker than that.
yeah, continue to build off of great performances. I mean, I knew they'd be better this year, but after 2 weeks with not being gelled together, I'm surprised they've been as good solid as they have been. And
Yeah,
I think they're going to keep getting better. And hot take, by the end of the season will be the 10th best offensive line, in my
yep,
opinion. I'm going to take out one of them because it was due to an injury possibly, but everybody's playing, so I'm not going to use that one. And then I think Groot needs to step up in the sense of he's getting pressures. He's graded in the basically 90 on PFF. Didn't do
right,
him good in the run stopping, but he just has to finish those sacks.
yeah,
You're a big motherfucker. You got your hands on these quarterbacks. Like how Jordan Phillips. Remember how Jordan Phillips sacked Zach Wilson in that game? He grabbed his shoelace and spun him around and tackled him. Like Groot
yeah,
had his hands on his hips and he yanked him down and he still missed. Like you gotta finish because he
yeah,
could have had 4 sacks by now and he's got 0, which it's not everything, but you're supposed to be that game changer. Like we drafted you 14 or 15 overall or in the 20 or something in the first round or 24. I don't remember where he was drafted. Phillips was drafted 15. I think we got him 21 or something, 22.
yeah. We got him later.
But when Von's that game changer, and yeah, you're not Von Miller yet, but you got the potential to be that kind of game changing guy, the closer, the guy who always gets that sack when he needs it most. So keep doing what you're doing, but just get those big, strong motherfucking hands on that quarterback, yank his ass down, especially if it's Sam Howell and he holds the ball around, swat that ball. And Jessica says Torrance was a steal in a second. Yeah,
Yep.
and quick note before I let Brett get into his guys. Everyone knows I wasn't too happy about the Kincaid pick for the reasons of we traded up because I had people that are in Dallas that know Dallas, like the office and everything. They didn't want Kincaid. They wanted the defensive guy that they drafted. I forgot who it was. They wanted him the whole way. We jumped them and traded with Jacksonville, gave Jacksonville our 4th round pick. They took Anton Harrison at the right tackle that we looked at. And I thought, oh, great. Now we're not getting Torrance now. We could have stayed at 27 or wherever it was, 26, and still got Kincaid and still kept our 4th round pick. Luckily, we got Torrance in the 2nd round. Luckily, I say that because I don't give Bean credit for that because he even knew that he wasn't going to be there in the 2nd round, but somehow he magically was. So thank God, thank you so much, Jesus, for blessing us with Osiris Torrance. So now maybe not as mad about the Kincaid pick. I still wish we had our 4th round pick because we could have got Whippler or DeJuan Jones because they were both drafted in the 4th round. Or I think Whippler got drafted in the 6th round.
Yeah, it was late.
Who did he go to? I can't even remember.
Whippler, I want to say, who did he go to?
Did he go to the Browns too?
No, I don't think he went to the Browns. Oh, no, you're right. It was the Browns.
So they got Brown and they got DeJuan Jones and Whippler, man.
Yeah.
And wow. So yeah.
And you have Wyatt Teller. Don't get me wrong.
And Wyatt Teller. So that's why I was upset about it in the beginning, but I'm happy with how our team's going. Sorry to ramble. You guys know me by now. Brett, give me a couple Bills or 3 or 4 or 1 who you think need to step up. I mean, I guess besides Josh Allen, but you could use them if you wanted to.
I'm going to start with the defense, okay? And I'm going to go with the guys that you're probably going to be like, man, you're a little too hard on him. But I'm going to say Jordan Poyer and Micah Hyde need to step up this week.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. You got to be harder. You got to be harder on them.
Yeah, they played a little bit soft, and they work old out there. I want to see them come out of the gates, and I want to see them firing like they're 25 years old. I think it's just getting the chemistry back. That's one thing. You got to remember Micah Hyde hasn't played since week 2 last year. Besides the last 2 games, but it's just getting his feet back under him. And I think he's going to be better this week. It's week 3. He's got to just figure it out, but he's going to be a lot better. And then Jordan Poyer too. I want to see some big things. I want to see an interception at least.
Yeah,
That's what I really want to see.
They're savages, dude. Micah Hyde and Poyer, but there's more Poyer so far. I feel like Hyde's been pretty good, but it's not as awesome when Poyer's not Jordan Poyer. I know he'll be fine, but I just feel like Sarah said, she beat me to this one, but Miami's next week, so stop cheating.
Yeah.
I'm scared of what will happen when we face speedy guys, press man coverage, and people. I know so much about the Dolphins because I always watch. I watch the enemies, and they're friends, but I want to know as much as I can about the other teams, especially the ones we play. And the guy I don't think he likes when I throw his name out there, even if it's positive. But the guy who got me into YouTube always mentions the best way to beat the Dolphins is to play press man coverage, but nobody wants to play it because they're scared of getting beat. Yep. But the Chargers did it last year with their third string secondary, and they shut them down.
Yeah.
Tyreek Hill's small. Jalen Waddle's small. You hit him at the line of scrimmage, like you get Kyrie Elam on him. And we played press man a little bit, but we did it with Trey White on Tyreek Hill, and Trey White's soft. So it didn't really work out too well. He's not a lock man. Like, he's better at zone than he is man. And a guy like Elam can go in there, bump Tyreek Hill off his route, and it's going to disturb everything because there's also a metric out there on the PFF premium stats that this person brought up when I was watching his show. And it mentioned that the Dolphins hit their first read 84% of the time, which is off the chart compared to everyone else in the NFL. So that means whether it's Tyreek Hill or Jalen Waddle, the first person they look at gets the ball like that. So if you bump Tyreek Hill off the ball and he can't throw them to him in the first second, he's got to look to someone else or wait. Then that's how you start disrupting things. So, yeah, you got to be safe, but I think you got to play press man coverage because they eat zones apart, and that's all we play against them is zone. That's why even though we beat them last year, they make it close, not because they're better than us, but because we play to what they're strong at. We're stubborn, we stick in our own ways, and they just pick apart zones. And, like Tua gets a lot of credit, but, that's our own fault because we decided to stay in that zone that they're strong against because they got the speed. And that's what I want to see differently at some points this year. And it is a recipe to beat them, to minimize their speed. I mean, even what the Patriots did, I didn't watch that film yet, but Tyreek Hill only had 40 yards. So they're able to do something, but they got ran all over. So, I mean, it's that's
going to happen. I mean, there's so many weapons on the Miami Dolphins,
But let's not get to the Dolphins yet because that's next week.
No, let's not get to the Dolphins. Let's focus on
Commanders, baby. Yeah, I mean, what more can you say about Brian Robinson? He got shot last year in a botched home invasion crap that he wasn't even supposed to be involved in. Missed a lot of games, came back, still did well, and now he's just hit the ground running this year. Literally, because he's a running back. But
I got that joke.
He's phenomenal, even in the pass catching game. I know you can't. I think Jess or someone said it earlier. You can't sell out, or Sarah. You can't sell out on the run against this team like you did against the Raiders because they have guys like Scary Terry McLaurin, Jahan Dotson, Curtis Samuel, who's like a mini Debo, and they got a lot of weapons for a young quarterback.
So another thing they were not factoring in is the tight ends too. They hit their tight ends on quite a bit of plays. So for me, it really comes down to the Bills playing tight on the tight ends, and then you got to play tight on Scary Terry. But I'm okay with letting Curtis Samuel and Jahan Dotson get into this game because I'm not afraid of Benford being on Dotson. I'm not afraid of Taron Johnson being on Curtis Samuel.
I'm afraid about Trey on Terry, though.
I'm not. No, I'm not. I'll tell you this. I will say this right now. Tre'Davious White's going to have a big day.
I hope so. He needs it.
Mark my words, because
he needs it.
He does, and he's getting his feet back under him. It's time for him to have a big game, but you're going to see some passes defense. I liked what I've seen so far out of Tre'Davious White. I think he's
Yeah,
only
I
going to.
mean,
I think he's only going
like
to
I'm
get
being
better.
hard on him, but Brett, you could even say he's not what
He's
he
not the
was pre-ACL. I don't expect him to, kind of, but that's something we have to monitor because, if he's our best corner and they can pick him apart with their number ones, then it's like, damn, come on,
No.
come on, Trey, let's go. I do want to ask you, how do you feel before we wrap it up soon?
Yeah.
How do you feel about, especially against this team, starting the game with a guy like Murray and just fucking destroying the defensive line? Or do you want to put a guy like Cook in who's hesitant in the beginning of the game to hit holes and to get contact? Or I think, and personally, it's not don't give Murray more carries, but begin the game with a guy like Murray who's 6 foot, who's basically like a linebacker, smack through the holes, get 3 or 4 yards of carry, and then you put a guy like with speed like Cook in, and then he's okay, I'm ready to go. Because I mentioned it in the last 2 games, the first 2 or 3 carries he gets, the hole is right there, and you just got to hit it immediately, and you get an extra 3 or 4 yards. And he's hesitant and scared. I don't want that against a defensive line like this. And I think Cook will have a good day. I'm just saying I think it's good to start off with a guy like Murray who can really beat up a defense, who's not easy to tackle. And then you throw in a guy like Cook who's super fast. And then it might, be better for the long run, especially in the red zone. Definitely don't put Cook in the red zone. But I see you were shaking your head. You don't think you don't like the idea of giving Murray like 1 or 2 carries to start the game, and maybe throw Cook in after that.
No, I'm shaking my head because my dog's being a little crazy, to be honest with you. So Shawn was being a little crazy over here. I don't know if Nickel City Mafia even knows. I mean, I have a 65-pound golden lab, and she's going a little crazy right now, and I'm trying to get her to calm down. So that's me shaking my head. But no, I think that the Bills need to just get the hot hand this week. It really comes down to whoever has the hot hand and kind of play back to the Mike McDaniel's offense that you saw in San Francisco, where whoever had the hot hand, you give the ball to. And if that's Latavius Murray, if it's Damian Harris, or if it's James Cook, give the ball to them. But I do think start the game off with James Cook, but mix in and sprinkle in, Latavius Murray, sprinkle in Damian Harris. Do what you have to do to get the ball to one of these guys, because one of them is going to take the top off of defenses. And I don't know if it's going to be James Cook or not, but I would like to start with him and work your way down, because I think James Cook offers the most of the 3 running backs.
Awesome. Brad, do you want to throw something fun in at you? First, I'll read Sarah's comment here. We've literally been burned by Hill and Kelsey in 13 seconds infamy. Got burned on a Hail Mary with 3 DBs and perfect coverage, and then got bent over by Jefferson to live on forever. Bring on scary I mean, and we had the Garrett Wilson catch already, so we always have the best catches of the year against us.
That's not a play that traded anything wrong on. I'm going to say that right now.
No,
okay?
It was just like,
don't get me wrong. That play was an incredible catch by Garrett Wilson. It's a great play, but Trey was in the right spot. He did everything he possibly could, and it's just I guess it's how the gods want it for football.
You gotta be more savage, dude. He was soft. He tipped the ball, but if you're just in his fucking face and just like blocking it out and then just knocking him down too, like just be like, you gotta be like Ramsey. You know how he's just ruthless when he gets at you and he talks shit over you and stands over you. Just he tipped the ball down and rolled backwards. He thought the play was over. If you were playing on him and you tip the ball, lean that way and then smack him down. You know what I'm saying? And Sarah says throw in Elam, see what he can do. How much worse can it get? I have limited character, Shawn. Yeah, and I get it. I get to cheat a little bit. But Brett, here's the fun part. I'm gonna let you go first, and I'm gonna go offensively. What do you think the first play is gonna be? Not like Roger 3 dog, green, orange, pink. What do you think it's gonna be?
Spider 2 wide banana. The only play I freaking remember from football. So no, I'm just kidding. It's gonna be. I'm gonna say it's gonna be a run play. to start the game off. We're going to try and
We're going to, and how many yards?
It's going to be 4 yards
To James Cook?
James Cook. Yep.
Okay.
It's going to be a 4 yard run. 4-yard run to the right side of the line of scrimmage behind Osiris Torrance, 4-yard gain. And then after that, we'll open it up to a play action pass going deep down the field.
Don't get started. I just said one play.
No. I'm just telling you.
The whole drive. I just want one play because I'm writing down one play.
I'm just telling you too. I'm telling you how the.
Hold on, I gotta do my play. I gotta do my play. Stop getting ahead of yourself.
I'm just saying how we're getting the first down. That's all I'm saying.
I'm not worried about that. I just want one goddamn play.
Take the run for 4 yards.
Run for 4 yards with Cook?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna say we're gonna throw. I put TROW instead of THROW. We're gonna throw to Diggs for 11 yards on a slant because he's back home and Josh is going to want to give him that first play. And Sarah says run, so I'll write down that, and it'll be interesting. Not that I don't want to hear your breakdown, Brett, but I know we can get going forever, and we just hit the hour and a half mark. So I'm going to throw it to you. I know you love your score predictions. Give me your score prediction. Give me your Josh Allen stat line. Give me your Stephon Diggs stat line, and give me your James Cook stat line.
Oh gosh, man, you're putting me on the spot. But
I'm overloading you, dude. You gotta, but I know you can do it.
Okay, score prediction for the game. Okay, I'm gonna start high. Okay, most people would probably think I am high because of the score prediction, but I think the Bills are gonna win 45-17. So
45-17?
45-17. I think it's going to be a high-scoring game. I think Buffalo is going to do everything right out there on the field, and we should put away this Commanders team. And there's going to be interceptions from Sam Howell. There's going to be 3 interceptions.
Love it.
I'm going to say that.
Before you go again, Jessica says, flea flicker from Cook to Allen to Davis. Okay, I got that down. That'll be awesome. I always get hyped up when they show Josh loading up about to throw a deep ball. I always stand up and I go, like a little kid in the candy store, like, is that gonna be a good pass? But then I'm like, So, but if it goes wrong, but 45-17, I think that could happen.
So mark down Jessica's score if you don't mind. 34-13.
I think it's gonna be. It's hard to tell because I don't know how bad the weather's going to be or how bad the field's going to be. I'm going to say 27-19.
Okay. Put that down. Let's see. Sarah, if you don't mind putting your comment down for the score as well, I'd like to see what you think. And then as well as John Robert, if he could put his score down as well. But, I think it's going to be a game where the Cyclone doesn't matter. Yeah,
I hope not.
I think Buffalo is going to just come out of the gates firing. They're going to put points out on the board. They're going to show that they're back to one of the top offenses out there on the field. You got to remember this much, though. Okay, I'm going to say this: every time that we play Eric Bieniemy, we start to put points out up on the board. I don't know what it is about him. And then when we play Eric Bieniemy, it always seems like Josh Allen always has a crazy play where he hurdles the guy too. So wanted to add that in. So that's why I think that the Bills are going to put this team away, quite honestly. And then, Shawn, I want to give you one other thing before I get into talking about Stephon Diggs as well as James Cook and Josh Allen. So this is the 3rd time in 4 years that the Buffalo Bills are playing the Washington football franchise. So it's the last time in 4 years. Did you know that the last 3 times that the Bills have played this franchise, they've played the team under a different nickname every single time for the Washington?
Yeah, I don't doubt it. Yeah.
I'm just saying, Redskins, you got the Washington football team and then the Commanders now. So next time we play, it'll be the 4th time in probably 5 or 6 years that it's going to be a different name. That's a probability that
they're not going to stay with the Commanders.
No, now they're talking about Josh Harris is talking about changing the name of the Commanders. I don't know if you knew that. They're talking about doing upgrades. They already did the upgrades to remove the sewer wastewater that was getting on fans. So now they're going to change the name of the franchise. Yeah, that's you can look it up. I mean, this is on Barstool. You can look it up. You can look it up all over the internet. There is sewer water that was landing on fans that were sitting in their seats. So that's how bad that field was. So,
I love it.
Let me get into Josh Allen's stats. I'm going to say he's going to go 33 of 39, 327 yards, 3 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, 1 rushing touchdown.
Love it. I want a streak. I want a streak for Josh where he goes like 4 or 5 games without picks and gets at least 3 touchdowns in a game. I watched Jalen Hurts get 2 gimme goddamn touchdowns at the 1-yard line, just vulturing the touchdowns away from the running backs. I had DeAndre Swift too, and he just takes two easy touchdowns that he didn't even earn. Like, damn, that's not fair. I want a couple games where Josh gets a bunch of touchdowns in a row, and then, just keep when he does well and the team does well, everything's good. It's a shit show there. Fans were falling out of the stands on top of her. Oh yeah, that I remember that. That's kind of funny. Yeah. But Brett, I'm gonna throw it to you real quick. I love the stat lines. I want a Bills dub. I don't care if it's 3-2 or 2-0.
Do you want James Cook and Steph Diggs real quick?
Oh yeah, go ahead.
Okay, I'm gonna say James Cook, 19 carries for the game, another 100-yard game from him. 113, 1 touchdown in this game. Leading the way at receiver for the Buffalo Bills this week, the Maryland man, and I had to say that with a
Maryland Manson.
Yeah, I was trying to think of Maryland Manson, but Maryland man. So he's going to lead the way at receiver. Steph Diggs, 14 catches, 203 yards in this game, 2 touchdowns to go along with a misdirection catch. Well, not catch, but run for another touchdown. That's going to be a rushing touchdown for Steph Diggs.
He isn't. I don't think he's ever had a carry for us.
I don't think he ever has. So I'm going to call it out and say he does.
That's a good one right there. I love it. I mean, hey, when the Bills do well, it's just a freaking fantastic time. It's a great week. And yeah, Waddle is out here. I think he was in concussion protocol. So that'll make that game a little bit more interesting. Thank you, Sarah, for tuning in. Thank you for saying it was a great show. We really appreciate it. Brett, before we go, I'm going to hand it to you. What do you got coming up in the next week? And where can everybody find you that might not know you?
Yeah, guys. You can find me on, I'm on 6 different social media accounts, but you can find me mostly on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook. Trying to sprinkle in some TikTok, but I haven't really gotten into it. And not really the TikTok savvy guy, even though I'm 26 years old. But
you're young.
Upcoming shows that we have the pregame show tomorrow at 12:30 on they'll be on YouTube and Facebook on the Go Bills podcast, as well as the halftime show and post-game show. Both of them are going to be on YouTube and Facebook. And then after that, on Monday, we'll have an Overreaction Monday show that goes live at 8 o'clock on Monday. Tuesday with I won't be on the show, but we also have the AFC Summit show on Nickel City Mafia. Wednesday again with Shawn that'll be on the Red, White, and Bills channel. So we'll do our weekly picks. Right now, that is pretty close. Shawn has the half game lead on there, but I'm going to take the win this week. I got myself going 16-0 this week. So stay tuned. If you haven't watched that show, go over to the Red, White, and Bills. Check out that show as well. It's a great show. And I got to say, Shawn, man, you host so well, and you do a great job on your channel. So everybody go on over to the Red, White, and Bills. Smash the like button on his channel. Get him up to, you're going on 400 followers now, or subscribers now that you're trying to get.
I'm at 306, so let's get to 350, then 400, and
let's get to 400.
Yeah, 400.
Let's set the goal high. Let's get to 400.
Yeah.
And then to end the week, I didn't do it this week. I've been very busy. Had some issues with some family issues I had to do, but we have the preview show for the Dolphins. I'm going to try and get that out a little earlier this week because I got a couple of guests that I'm going to go on their channels and bring them on my channel as well. And then Saturday night with you again on the that'll be the Red, White, and Ruthless again next Saturday, and then starting it back up again with pregame, postgame, halftime show as always. So it's always fun to do all these shows with you, Shawn. And
Yeah, absolutely.
even though we're not doing all of them together, but we're building this brand with Nickel City Mafia as well, getting them up to now I think they're almost at 1.52 thousand followers. So I think they just hit it. So
yeah,
they're starting to really roll around. So I want to take a minute to thank Mike and Jake and the gang at Nickel City Mafia, all the behind the scenes work that we see as well. You have Tom that does all the graphics and everything as well. I mean, everything that we get to see here it's incredible, and this channel is really growing as well. So I want to take a minute to thank Mike as well, and Jake, and the staff that we have on Nickel City Mafia too.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, subscribe to Nickel City Mafia. They do a ton of shows. I lose track, but they're always basically something every day. Head over to Go Bills Podcast, subscribe to him as well. For me, it's going to be Dolphins week is the craziest for me coming up. But we're going to try to pre-record weekly picks because I think I got to go on the Fins tailgate on Wednesday. I'm sure I'll see a couple of you there. And I got to do a show with TD and Miss Fins. So I'll be pretty out there. Red, White, and Ruthless won't be pre-recorded. Going to try to pre-record the weekly picks. Got to try to get the debate show out because I didn't get it out last week. That will be live so you guys can vote the winner. And yes, I do plan on doing film. Try to do it every week. It just all depends on how I do run my own business, but sometimes I have to book like 3 or 4 jobs a day to get everybody in for the month. So if it works out this week where I have a bunch of free time, I will get the film in, even if it's for a little bit. Like I want to do the whole 2-hour one, but if I can only do a half hour, at least it's better than nothing.
And hey, we can mix it in like we talked about. I mean, behind the scenes, we can mix it in where, we do some type of collaboration. Maybe, we bring it onto both channels or whatever the case may be. That's something that we could always do with Red, White, and Bills and Go Bills Podcast combine and do. Maybe you do one half, I do the other half. So that's something that we can.
Yeah, we'll figure something out. But like I said, I'm going to try. We'll see how it goes. Can't promise, but I'd love to. And then pre-games will probably be pre-recorded, and then the post-game is the post-game. So it's going to be a busy week. And again, Nickel City Mafia, Mike, Jake, Chris, Jeremy, everybody that's involved. Again, this is just the funnest thing I could ever imagine doing. I did this as like, I always wanted to have a podcast. Never thought I could do it. Then 2 years ago, I started one, and then now I met all these great people and great friends. So love it. Love the energy. Love all you guys in the chat. We thank you guys for tuning in to Red, White, and Ruthless. Let's get back next Saturday for a freaking win and a celebratory Red, White, and Ruthless show, because it could either get pretty ruthless if it's a bad week, or we're celebrating and getting ready for the next one. So Brett, thank you again for being my co-host. Brett's going to be hosting next week. And keep an eye out for all of our videos. Subscribe to all the channels. Nickel City Mafia, Go Bills Podcast, Red, White, and Bills. Go Bills, as always. Have a good night, everybody.
Good night, guys.